everyone, and welcome to the This and That Knits podcast. I have started knitting recently last fall, and the reason I started was because I love to watch cozy vlogs and all things creative on YouTube, and I found this little corner on the internet of knitting podcasts, and I just really fell in love with what people were making and the way they passionately talked about their crafts, and that made me want to pick up knitting as well. And I just started with a few simple projects and now have been knitting ever since. I would really like to show what I've made and maybe inspire others to also join this little community. It has been really fun to see what everyone is up to with knitting, and this is what I would like to share and contribute. And I not only like to knit, I love all sorts of crafts, if it's from fixing my little coffee machine to building something to knitting, fiber arts, or sometimes also a little bit of pottery. Anything that is in a little bit of a creative process I just really enjoy to do in my free time. And at the moment the obsession is knitting. So yeah, I have my little iced coffee or big iced coffee in my very handmade and very wonky mug, and let me show you what I've made. So the very first thing I knit was a hat and a you call it like, not mitten, what's the English word? Like a hand warmer, wrist warmer, we call them. And this is the knit I made. It is a alpaca yarn from a company called Lang Yarns. They no longer make this specific yarn. It was the Maloo yarn, and now they only make the Maloo Light, but which is just a little bit thinner, but really nice yarn to work with. And it was a rather chunky knit, so I used 6mm needles, and it knit up very quickly. The sizing is a little bit it's very tight, but I have a small head, so it's really not that big of a problem. And I created this little flower top by very quickly decreasing, and I really like that it has like this little detail on the top. I did not use a pattern because I am overly confident most of the time, which means very often I do have to rip things back and start over, but I just started and watched how it went, and I'm very happy with my very first product. And the reason I had this old yarn that they no longer make is because when I was, I think we call it primary school, so I was like 10 years old, we had to learn how to knit at school, and I really liked it. And we only knit flat and only in garter stitch, but I was like a big fan. And so I went to the yarn shop with my mom and bought like big skeins of this green yarn, and I still have some left over. And then I did nothing with it. Like it just was in my room forever. And the only other thing I've ever knit before was little socks in, not this green, but something also green from that we got from school, because when I was 12 or 13, my little half-sister was born, and I made her green baby socks because we didn't know if she was going to be a girl or a boy, and at that time I thought green would be perfect, and I loved everything green anyways. And to match the perfect little green beanie I made, I added these wrist warmers, and as you can see, my attempts at increasing and decreasing were a little bit wonky as well, but the idea is that you can wear them like this, and that they're tight on the wrist and nice and oversized on your hand, so it gives you this like oversized sweater feeling. which I really like, and it's perfect to wear under my coat and still feel like I'm very tucked in and cozy. I have to admit, I don't find the yarn very scratchy. The only thing I do notice is that like on my forehead when I'm warm, so if I'm like wearing this on a really long walk where I might start to sweat a little bit, it does itch, but I have that with any hat, so I think that's very normal. So very, very soft yarn. I mean, perfect. So this was my first little set, my first knitting project. Again, no pattern, just kind of went for it. And again, like I overestimate myself. I immediately started knitting on the round and ripped back about 8 times. And but I'm very, very proud that I like kept going and didn't just immediately, you know, stop when things got hard. So this was my very first knitting project. Yeah. I always wonder like what people's first projects are, because obviously on YouTube or with other like forms of social media, you always see these crazy big projects with lace details or cables and everything, and then I always wonder like what do true beginners start, because I was very much influenced to try something like on the round knitted simply because I'd been watching so many people do very complicated things that have been knitters all their life. So I wonder what a good first knitting project might have been instead. But the second thing I knit was this sweater, and it has 2 colored sleeves, so one blue sleeve and one like rusty red orangey sleeve, and the sizing is completely off. I got like recommended as a first time sweater to try a PetiteKnit sweater simply because they're apparently like very easy to follow, and this is the PetiteKnit balloon sweater or something like that, balloon sleeve sweater. And I measured myself and obviously didn't gauge swatch because that would require, you know, patience, which I do not have. And I just started with the size medium because that was the sizing that would be for me, and it turned out huge. And I, at some point during like, I don't even know what you call it, like, yeah, the short rows basically to shape the drop shoulder, they were getting so long, and I was like I was not even near the extra small sizing, and I just stopped, and still the shoulder hit me like almost at my elbows. And what I also didn't know at the time was that yarn is heavy. So not only were the shoulders already very, very dropped to a low point, but because afterwards, after knitting up the sleeve added weight, and so it pulled it down even more. And so now it's also a little bit like, what do you call it? Like gapy. There's a lot of like holes in the top because of it. And I took a crocheting hook and some leftover yarn and reinforced the collar, because at some point, because it was so heavy, it kind of opened up almost to like shoulder width. But all in all, I know I've said a lot of negative things. Like I'm very proud of my second project being a big sweater, and I love the design idea, and I think someday I may do it again, but with a little bit more knitting knowledge now. And yeah, it was crazy to cast on something with like the Italian cast on. It was very difficult, and I twisted it about 6 times and had to start again, and it just took me many attempts to get it right. But this is all very dear to my heart, and I wear it a lot at home, just to feel cozy, and especially when I knit, I really enjoy wearing it. It is all the Lang Yarns 120 merino, so like a DK weight, and I do not know the color numbers. So this was the very first sweater project I made, and I'm very, very happy with it, but it's perfectly imperfect. Then it was starting to be Christmas time, and in Christmas times, of course, you start with gift knits, and I made a lovely set of, again, like wrist warmers together with a bandana, I think they're called, or a headband for my mother-in-law, or my boyfriend's mom, and then for his little sister I did the same thing that I knit for myself, which is this little balaclava, and I knit it from the top. I cast on and then picked up the stitches on the same side, and then I just knit back and forth as if you were knitting flat, and did some shaping for it, and then eventually I joined in the round to create the neckline, and it's very cute, and I like to wear it together with a beanie on top. Wait, let me see if I can wear it like this, because it's big and fluffy, and if you have a beanie here, it's extra warm, and it doesn't really prevent wind coming in. It's a very thin layer, and also has, like, because the yarn I used was the Phoenix Lang yarn, it's sort of like brushed alpaca. It's very thin yarn in the middle and then bigger lumps on the outside, so in some parts it's very dense, and then in others there's a little bit of a bigger hole between the knits. And you can also wear it kind of like a little scarf or a hoodie just, and I really like to wear this just with my coat, because otherwise you can't see all of my handmade sweater knits on the bottom. So I made this for my boyfriend's little sister in pink, and then one for me in white, and I still have so much yarn left over, even though it's huge. Yeah, and those were the gift knits I made, and everyone was really excited. I like to make handmade gifts for Christmas. I like to usually gift pottery, or very often it's just the current obsession I have. And I also knit a pair of socks, and they turned out huge. They were supposed to be for my boyfriend, but who he has like shoe size, I think 43 European, and they turned out to be like shoe size 50, which was no problem, because my dad's shoe size is shoe size 50, so I'll just give them to him when I see him again. So yeah, that turned out better than I had hoped. The last finished object I have is my absolute favorite finished object that I made. It has taken a lot of time, more than I would like to admit, and it feels like it took years of my life to complete this sweater, but I wear it almost every day. And I just got back from a trip, my trip in Iceland, and there it's the coziest, warmest piece of clothing that I could have worn every single day, and that is the Halibut sweater that I have. It is knit also in the Lang merino yarn in the DK weight 120, and in this dark brown and little beigey color. And I did this on purpose because halibuts are actually brown fish, and in my mind I just thought, oh, then it needs to be knit in a brown color. But now that I see all these beautiful other halibut sweaters on the internet in beautiful greens and blues, I'm like, oh, maybe next time I'll knit one in a different color as well. And this is the best piece of clothing I own, not only because I made it myself, but because I love the detail. I know other people have said that they're bothered by it not being centered. I don't really notice because I'm usually moving around all the time. And I really like the design and the fish itself. And I just did one little modification, and that is with the sleeves, because I wanted to be able to wear this sweater over a few things. I didn't increase the way the pattern says, sorry, I didn't decrease the way the pattern says. I did it in the same, how do you call it, like once I started the decreases, I did them as the pattern suggests, but I didn't do it for as long. And I didn't start until very, very late into the sleeve. And then I paused the decreases for kind of the elbow and then a little bit further, and then I did it again when it came to the lower part of my arm. And I did this very stretchy bind off. I think it's called Jenny's stretchy bind off that I just found on YouTube, and I really, really like it. And of course the Halibut sweater is the pattern by Caitlin Hunter. And I love this pattern. I haven't tried any or seen really much of her other patterns, but I did see that she is releasing a salmon sweater now this week or next week. And so I have already signed away the next maybe 50, 60, 70 hours of knitting to creating a new salmon sweater. And I'm not sure yet which colors I would like to use, but not a brown. I have a brown sweater now, so maybe something bluish or reddish, we'll see. And that is all of my finished projects. I always feel a little bit bad or slow when I see what all these other knitters are knitting up so quickly, because I do it in my free time, not as a job, but still, and I feel like I might be a little bit slow, or I don't get as much done as others, I think. But I just really love knitting, and I enjoy doing it wherever I am. I always have a little project in my bag, and I just try not to compare, but it's hard if you love the content as well. So, but one of the little projects I have in my bag, again, is a pattern I make myself. Oh goodness, a lot of stitches have fallen off here, but it is this little wash bag that I'm trying to make. I want to have something to put all of my knitting things in, or maybe some cable, something like that. And I knit it on the round, or actually I started flat knitting just in a moss stitch, the bottom, and then I'm doing this diamond brocade pattern on the sides, and it's very fragile. I'm losing stitch markers and stitches and everything, so I'm going to put it down again. And I'm doing this in a sock yarn because I was hoping that it would hold its shape the best, and also because I didn't want to spend too much money. And this yarn, like this is one ball of yarn, you can see I have a little bit left, and I have another ball right here ready. These were really cheap. I think like in dollars this would be like $5 for one skein, and yeah, so I wanted to knit this, but this does mean that I will have to sew a inside like bag to put inside, a lining it's called. I have to sew a lining and I'm hoping to get to borrow my boyfriend's mom's sewing machine to do this, and I need to order a zipper and some fabric to get that done. But this is the little diamondy wash bag that I'm making, and I really like it because I can just take it on the bus or on the train to work. The next thing I am working on is a gift, and it is something that I would like to felt, and that is a slipper. And right now it looks like this. This is one slipper. I might be overestimating how much felting can shrink, but I did it as the pattern that was suggested on the inside of like the wrapper of the yarn ball, and I got this. It's a wash and felt yarn from, I don't remember, some I think German company, and this is supposed to be one, not sock, what do you call it, a slipper, exactly, a slipper, there we go, like this. I have to still sew it together in the front. I'm a little bit upset that as you can see, the yarn pattern or the dye changed quite a bit during the same skein. Like I was hoping this wouldn't happen, and I checked, and there's not like, it's not like it's somewhere that they put it together again or something. So I'm a little bit confused as of why this happened. But currently I just cast on and knit 1 or 2 rows of this, and I'll see. It should be a really quick knit. I'm just procrastinating. So that's the next thing I will finish. And that brings me to 3 works in progress that I have right now. I am on a kind of cardigan spree, even though one of them isn't technically a cardigan. The only one that really isn't a cardigan, but it knits up like a cardigan, is the Clematis sweater. And I picked a little bit of a thicker yarn for this, and I got the Southern borsted alpaca to use, and in this like whitish color. Unfortunately, when I ordered it, I thought it would be more of like a pearlish white, but this is a grayish white, so not exactly the color I was hoping for, but I still like it. I was just not expecting to use so little yarn, so the entire body and neckline and button bands were, I think, 3 skeins of the borsted alpaca, and I still have the sleeves to go, but I just started with a new ball of yarn for 1 sleeve, and I highly doubt that it will use more than 1 skein, and that means I'll still have a few left over, even though I checked for the sizing. I know I picked a thicker yarn, but for the sizing I checked the meterage it would use, and still I have a lot left over, so I'll see what I can make out of that. Then the next 2 cardigans are once again my own creations, because apparently I always think that I know better. No, not better. Every time I look for a pattern, I have this kind of idea in my mind of what I want to knit. Usually I see a yarn and I think, oh, I would love to make XYZ out of this. And then I go on Ravelry or online to find any kind of pattern. And maybe I'm just really bad at looking for patterns. But yeah, I found that this is the pattern I started to make. It is a cardigan. And as you can see, I started ripping back the sweater. So I started ripping it back because I don't like the way I picked up the stitches here. And this is like my 4th time starting on this sleeve. So, but I think I'll rip it back again and redo the sleeve 1 more time. I think it's been 3 times already. So, but I knit this also in a Lang yarn again. It is this one, the Merino 120 again, which is again a DK weight, and together with the mohair, and they are in the same color. This is the jeans color collection. This color is, they don't have names, the colors, but they have like an array of jeans-ish colored yarns. And I really like this blue. It's the same blue I had in one of the sweater arms of the balloon sweater I did, the very first sweater. And I really wanted it to be a thick and warm cardigan. Once again, I am a slower knitter, so I started this maybe November and it is now April and starting to get way too warm to wear this, but maybe it'll be finished when the next winter comes. So I still need to pick up stitches for the button band and the neckline. That's why it's a little bit rolled here. And the way I did it is that I cast on for the shoulder and then did a few short rows for shaping. And then I picked up here on the side for the front button band. No, sorry, front, just front. And then again on the other side, the same thing. And then I once I had the shoulder, the sleeve length or holes at the length that I wanted, I combined them together with the back to create kind of the whole cardigan shape. And yeah, I'm definitely going to rip this back. I just haven't committed yet because I would prefer to pick up every single stitch and have it look really clean on the shoulder here because it isn't a drop shoulder sweater, and then decrease immediately, then have this kind of odd bump. I really don't like it when cardigans have that. So this is the cardigan pattern that I've been working on for myself. And the last thing I am currently working on was the project I started while I was in Iceland now. It is a raglan cardigan, and I fell in love with this color. It's this beautiful olive green, and so many stitch holders and everything here. Yarn getting tangled. There. It's this beautiful green, and I did a rolled top and tried to reinforce it with 2 rows of just ribbing. And I was hoping it would roll down a little bit more. Unfortunately, it did not, but I can actually put this on real quick. There we go. So it has this little rolled top and a nice raglan edge to it, and I will pick up the sleeves, of course, at the end. And I think I'm going to do an I-cord here instead of a button band, and then have these little bows to tie it together. I see those everywhere and I think they're absolutely cute. And right now I started decreasing to do a little bit of a waist shaping here from after the shoulder. From under the arm, and I might go into a little bit of a peplum shape at the bottom then. I'm a big fan of peplum. I was when it came around the very first time, and I am again now that it is coming back a second time as a trend. I will keep and cherish everything that is peplum. And this is in the Sodnesgarden, in the Sunday, and in the tin silk mohair. And I'm holding this just together to create a nice finish, or actually very cozy fabric. And I'm really happy that I didn't take the double Sunday because I think that would have been way too bulky. So this is a really nice combination in my opinion. And I have to get this done now because I'm planning on wearing this as a spring knit. And I'm thinking about writing the pattern in a nice way and having maybe test knitters see if the other sizings would work out as well, and maybe uploading it, because I love experimenting with my own patterns and knits. And I would, like I said, I pick patterns to, let me say that again. Like I said, I like to create my own kind of patterns or knits because I can never find exactly what I want. Maybe because I'm just bad at looking for patterns. But I always want something very specific also for the yarn that I see. And I'm hoping that people might also like what I'm making. So let me know. Yeah. So that is the little green cardigan that I have. And the things that I now bought are a few things. I recently, because they were on sale, I don't know why, but very cheap. I got these for less than 100. I think in dollars, I think it'd be less than $100 as well. And I got the Knit Pro Symphony Rose Pro Knit Symphony Rose knitting needles, and they come in this beautiful rose colored box that I can't throw away. I need to keep boxes. And they're these kind of cherry wood looking needles with a rose gold metal tip, and it's from the sizes 8 millimeters, so a US 11, down to 3.5 millimeters, so a US 4. They're not long, but they're long-ish, I'd say. So I can't really knit sleeves with these, but I have my short needles for that. And they're perfect for knitting bodies, and it comes with a few cables, which is really nice because before I bought this set, I didn't know that you could have cables that have like a spinning top, and so that needle doesn't constantly unscrew. And it comes with a little rose gold pouch to put everything in, which makes me very, very happy. I'm usually not a very rose gold person, but this I very much enjoy. So these were the needles that I got. And then to add on, just got a call. To add on, I got, they're falling apart. I picked up these beautiful skeins of this extremely yellow yarn from Wool Addicts, which I learned is also by Lang Yarns. So where I live, we usually get Lang Yarns. Of course, if you order online, you can get all different types of yarns, but this is kind of the bigger supplier. So most of my knits that I have from here will be from Lang Yarns, and it's this lovely, I think sunflower would be a little bit darker, but it's this extremely bright yellow, and I would love to make a vest out of this. But again, the peplum, I would like to have it as a ribbed vest that has a little bit of a peplum bottom. I think that would look very nice with this, and especially now in spring. This might be a very thick yarn, so I think I'll use a very large needle size so it's not too hot, to create a nice little peplum vest. And then like I said, I was in Iceland and I had only hand luggage. So when I flew there, I already had very little space because I had to take care of a few things there. So technically it was a work trip. But I promised myself I wouldn't need to buy more yarn because I have so many projects still going, and I already have the yellow yarn to have a new project, and I have a few sock yarns still left over for a few gift knits or something. But I was going grocery shopping, and right next to it they had this little kram, like stuff shop, I guess. And they had this tin silk mohair that was on sale, and it was only 1,000 kroner, so that made it, of course, a very good buy. And while I was in the shop, I didn't really plan on using only mohair with something, so the sale method really worked on me, of course, because it made me buy full price yarn as well. And it looks very squished because, like I said, I didn't have any more space in my hand luggage, so I kind of shoved it down. I got the kamgam from, this is Istix, so the Icelandic wool yarn company, and this is just 100% merino yarn, and they're not exactly a match when it comes to the color, as you can see. But what I did was in the shop, not in this ball, of course, because now this would be too easy. I just held them together and twisted them a bit to see what it would look like together, and I think it'll just create so much fibers. I think it will create a really nice kind of mélange effect, marled effect, to have these two yarns held together. And I'm thinking, I bought all that were on sale. I bought 4 of these thin silk mohairs, and then I think 5 or 6 of the kamgaram. And I'm thinking maybe a sweater, or if that's not enough, maybe just a vest. Because I think this color, you can see it with the nail polish, I think this color will look absolutely amazing with red, and to wear like with a blouse and some red lipstick or something like that. I think this would look extremely good. So I have, yeah, I don't have them all here, but I got a good set of the things I need. And those are kind of the plans that I have for the moment. And I love to just start knitting on whatever and see where it takes me. Yeah, I'm planning on going to the pottery studio again this weekend to finish something I've been working on. Unfortunately, the last time I went, I tried to make a yarn bowl with like a threaded hole so I could have my yarn on the table while I work and it wouldn't be flying around everywhere. But it cracked in the kiln. There was a big irreparable crack on the side, so I have to start again. But I'm hoping to make one of those, because what I have are these, what do you call them? I don't even know what these are called. Like yarn turners, spinners, Lazy Susan yarn discs. And they're really nice, but I just like making things as well. Otherwise I would really like to make some stitch markers. I bought a nice set, but I don't know how to do that exactly. So what I bought are these metal rings. So maybe with some clay, not clay, like what do you call it? Like polymer clay, I think they're called. We have Fimo. Make maybe some cute little foods or little seashells or something out of it to have new stitch markers, because with all the projects I have, it might be necessary to have a few more stitch markers. Oh, the bird just landed. And yeah, I'm excited to see how these projects turn out, and I will try to keep you updated on how far I get. Like I said, I'm not exactly the fastest knitter, but I would really like to hear your thoughts, maybe what you're knitting on. And like I said, I'm really interested in what people knit when they start knitting, and kind of what they are hoping to accomplish, or how long it takes them to start these little bit more difficult projects. Because like for me, cables is something I'm very afraid of. And maybe more like how people start knitting. I find that very interesting. I wish you a lovely week, and maybe see you soon. Bye!